Hello and welcome to another Wally Spark review. That's Wally with an E. And today we are, you can call this video part 2 or whatever you want, but basically we're going to be looking at putting mulching blades on my new Cadet lawn tractor here. And I'm going to leave out a lot of stuff as far as the detail work, because I figure if you're not mechanically inclined or you've never done something like this before, you probably shouldn't be in the first place. And if you are mechanically inclined, you're going to have your own ways and techniques of taking off nuts and bolts and all that stuff. So just, do what you're comfortable with. But I will leave out a lot of the work here because it's just a long, boring, no sense of looking at it. I see a lot of videos, they put the camera underneath the lawnmower and show them taking off the parts, the blades and the nuts and the bolts, but I don't see any purpose to that. So anyways, again, this is my new Cadet lawn tractor. We did another video about this when I bought it, but like I said, today we're changing the blades out to mulching blades. And let's start with, and by the way, you might hear a little thunder and rain in the background because it is doing that today here in Minnesota. So let's start out with how to get underneath the lawn tractor in the first place. There's probably 101 different ways of doing this. You could buy some ramps, you could build a ramp, you could get a jack, you can also remove the deck and pull that out and flip it over and replace the blades that way. But I just didn't want to do that on my brand new lawn tractor. I mean, I haven't had it long enough to justify taking things apart and putting them back in. And actually, I think it's just kind of more of a hassle to pull that deck out than it is to get underneath it and change the blades. So I just needed a little space. I've got long arms, but I needed a little height to get my arms under there to get the blades out. So all I did was found a couple patio bricks in my yard and drove the one side up on it. You can see it's not that high. I just needed a little room there to get underneath. So 2 patio bricks. It got the deck off the ground enough for me to get my arms in there and remove the center blade and the outside blade. I did use a 2x4 as well. Not sure where that went, but I took a 2x4 and just kind of jammed it up there on each blade so I could break them loose. And it worked well. It's a little difficult to do with one hand, but again, like I said, if you're mechanically inclined, you'll figure this part out on your own. So I did get the blades off. This is the outside blade here. They're all the same. All 3 blades are the same. And I'm getting ready to put the new blades in, but we're going to take a look at some of the new blades here real quick. I'm going to bring this old blade up here. And there is our box with our new blades in it. It also comes with this discharge hole cover, which is obviously, well, maybe not obviously to you, but that is going to go right here to cover up where the grass shoots out, because if you have the mulching blades on there, you don't want the grass shooting out. And we'll get to that a little bit later. So let's get our blades out. And there we have them. 3 brand new nice shiny blades. First thing I want to do is line these up next to each other and make sure the length is obviously the same. Being too short or too long isn't going to be a good thing. And I already have put these side by side and they are the exact same length. But as you can see, one's the original high lift blade and this is my new mulching blade. One thing I want to look at is I've seen in a lot of reviews about these blades that they came unsharpened. And if we take a look at these, see if I can get, and excuse me because it's kind of hard to do these videos with one hand. I apologize for the bad shots. But the blade is tapered like it was sharpened, and I think what's happening here, and again, this is, it comes to a point, but I can rub my finger across there. There's no it's not going to cut me. It's dull enough to where I don't have to worry about getting cut or anything. And I think my opinion is what's happening here is this was sharpened at the factory, but when they painted over it, the paint is thick enough to actually dull the edge. And it's probably okay to put these on as is. And a little wear and tear is probably going to knock that paint off and bring the actual metal edge, you know, the sharper part out on its own. Don't quote me on that, but I'm just kind of guessing that's what would happen. But in my case, I'm going to actually take this and either put it on my bench grinder or just put it in a vise and use a metal file, and kind of get some of that paint off there and get a little better sharpness to the edge before I reinstall these. But again, I think it's probably fine just to throw these on as is. There are a lot of complaints though that I see where I bought these blades from in the reviews. Anyways, people were saying, yeah, why did they come not sharp? Well, I think they originally were sharp, and the paint just kind of was thick enough to dull them out and make it appear that they're dull. But again, I'm going to file them down just to make sure they go on nice and sharp. Now, another thing that I've seen people talking about is you want to make sure these are balanced. And one way of doing that is to put a nail in a vise, horizontally facing, and put your blade on the nail and see if it looks balanced, which this one does. Now the thing is, if I just move it a little bit one direction or the other, well, now it looks unbalanced. So you really kind of got to get it on there perfect. And again, in my opinion, you know, how balanced do these things really need to be? I think what you're looking for here is maybe just some serious out of whack balancing where, you know, it's going to look something like this. Then you may have problems. But it's never going to be perfect, because even if it was perfect, once you get it out there and start mowing and using it, it's going to hit rocks, and the grass itself is going to wear it down a little bit on one side or the other. And no matter what, it's always going to be a little out of balance. So I don't think you're looking for, you know, the tiny fluctuations. You're looking for some major unbalancing here. And these blades, I did already put these all on the test here, and they all look like this. They were all pretty much balanced, so I'm not worried about that. When you're putting them back on, just make sure they're going on the right way. You don't want that indented side going up on the lawnmower. You want the flat side going up on the lawnmower. I don't even think it would fit the other way. And also, it's only going to fit in one way on the shaft, because this S hole here, as they call it, is only going to go on there one way. And this is another, you know, Cub Cadet design, probably to make sure that you have a harder time finding aftermarket blades, and you have to buy their blades directly from them at a lot higher price. That's why they have this new S hole design instead of the star, universal star design. And if you've never seen one of those, well, just look at any lawnmower you have had in the past, and you'll probably see the difference. The hole is basically a pointy star pattern, round pointy star pattern. But yeah, I think they just designed it this way so they could make a little more money off of us, which, you know, hey, companies got to do what they got to do. Two reasons why I'm putting these mulching blades on. It's the end of the season here in Minnesota. It's fall, and I usually use mulching blades to take care of all the leaves that fall anyway. Also, I may just keep them on for next summer and try mulching my yard instead of collecting all the debris in the baggers, because as we mentioned in the last videos, the bagger for this particular unit is $600, and that's just a ridiculous price for something like that. So I can't justify spending that kind of money on a bagger system. Now again, if you're not mechanically inclined, you probably shouldn't be doing this work in the first place, and maybe just bring it to a professional. And that's another reason, like I told you, I'm not going to get underneath here and show you how I take off the blade nuts and all that. If you know what if you have a little bit of mechanical inclination in you, you're going to be able to, you've probably done this type of work before and you'll be able to do it just fine. I did take a bungee cord and to hold back the discharge chute there so it was out of my way. It's about the only little trick I did here. One more thing I should mention is just make sure you're ordering the right blades. I've seen a lot of complaints about not so much the blades. I believe they're going to be the same no matter what on this particular unit, but I've seen complaints about people having a struggle getting this cover on. And I think the reason for that is the cover may be a little different on the other model version of this unit. And what I'm talking about is the deck. This is a fabricated deck. It's a heavier gauge metal and a lot more welding being done on this one, as opposed to, I think, what they call the pressed deck, which is where they just take a big sheet of thinner metal and put it in a press at the factory, and the press molds it into this shape here. It's a thinner metal and not as much welding done on it. This is the fabricated deck, and if you don't know what you have, you better find out. But I think that's where the struggle with putting this cover on came from. In some of the reviews, people are just buying the wrong kit for their mower, so just double check that. The bolt that holds the blades on for this lawnmower anyway was a 15/16. Alright, I'm going to continue on and get these blades all swapped out. I'll just get this side done. I was able to get like I said, the center blade and the outside blade done on this side with my tire being rolled up onto some patio blocks. Once I get those two done, I will get this off the patio blocks, bring it around to the other side, get this side on the patio blocks, and replace the last blade that's going to be on this side here. And then once we're done with that, I'm going to come back and show you how to get that cover on there. There's a little bit of a trick to it, and I know some people were struggling with it, so you may want to stay tuned and watch that. I will be back. I just wanted to come back to these blades for a second here as far as the sharpness. I did a little research on the internet, and can't believe everything you see on the internet, but it looks like the consensus is, yeah, the blade should be sharp, but not sharp enough to where you can rub your finger over them and get cut. And that just brought me to think, well, why don't I look at the blade that came with the lawnmower? I've only used the lawnmower one time, so these blades pretty much are from the factory. And I'm looking at these blades, the original blades, and I know it's difficult to see, but I can rub my finger across them, and they're not sharp enough to cut me by any means. And when I looked at these blades, let's see if I can get a better angle on that. I don't know if I can. Kind of hard to see. But point being is they are pretty much the same sharpness or dullness, whichever way you want to look at it, as the new blades I bought, even with the paint on them. So I've changed my mind, and I'm going to just put these blades on as is. I think, like I said earlier, they're going to be fine anyway. This was my opinion, and I'm come to that conclusion more and more that there's no sense of trying to take the time to grind the edges on all three of these blades. Yeah, this was just used, this was original with the lawnmower, and because it came original with the lawnmower and already installed, by no means when you buy a new lawnmower with the blade on it is the company telling you that you have to now take the blades off and sharpen them before you use them. So if this is how the original ones came with the lawnmower, they're really no different than the ones that I just bought in terms of how sharp they are. So I am gonna just put these on as is without sharpening them at all, and we're gonna see how that works out for me. And again, I will be back and we're gonna take a look at that, installing that cover. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, well there you go. The old blades are off. The nice new blades are on. And I'd say, you know, if I did this job straight through, probably took me less than 15 minutes. And that was without having to take the whole deck off. All right, let's go ahead and get this cover on. Okay, so I've only done this once, and I can't remember exactly how I did it, so just imagine that this is the first time I'm doing it. First thing I'm going to do is take off this nut with the plastic handle on it, and then we are going to start positioning it in and see where it goes exactly. Can't remember what this bar does here. I think it goes in a little hole down there, but anyway. Yeah, so there's a little hole right down, if you can see it. Let me get my flashlight. There's a little hole right there that bar is ultimately going to slide into. So it takes a little finessing, and we want this, I believe this whole section here, to be inside of the deck. And then we got to get our hole here over the bolt there. But let's just try sliding this in there first. There we go. Just got to straighten it out a little bit. Then I'm going to get this right there like that. Now the problem is this lip here is on the outside of the deck, and it's got to go inside. Now all I did here was just simply take a screwdriver and put it in there a little bit as I'm kind of bending that down so it goes underneath the deck frame. I'm pushing this side here over to go over that bolt, and voila, there we go. It is on. When I first did it, that lip kept getting stuck right there on the top, and if you didn't correct that right away and got the cover over the bolt already, then that lip was kind of stuck on top and you weren't going to be able to get in there with the screwdriver and flip it underneath without breaking something. So you want to do it as you're putting it on. But that's it. It's as simple as that. And let me just make sure, there we go. Gotta give it a little kick there, make sure it's all nice and sealed around here. Put on my nut here. And there you have it. And now that bar is nice and tight in that hole. This whole thing is nice and tight. It's not going anywhere. And then you can drop your discharge chute cover back down if you want to and run it like that, or you can maybe fashion this up a little better and leave it up as you're mowing so you can get closer to the edge on your right side here. But that's it. The only trick to this was just, you know, getting that lip underneath there, right in that spot right there. So I don't know, after seeing all the reviews, there were people were complaining about this cover going on. Again, I think it came down to two things. One, they may not have had the right kit or cover for this particular fabricated deck, or they just didn't have enough sense to grab a screwdriver and kind of tuck it under there as they were putting it on. It is a little tricky, and there's no instructions with this, but as you see, I'm not the smartest, brightest guy in the world, and worked out just perfectly for me. All right, so thank you for watching my video. I hope this helped you out in some way. If you're doing the same type of job on this lawnmower, this particular lawnmower, or maybe even on another lawnmower, maybe some of the tips that I showed you might help you out. I hope it does. Other than that, thanks for watching, and we do appreciate if you do subscribe, so please subscribe. By the way, one thing I forgot, I will try to leave some links in the description of where you can buy these parts for this particular lawn tractor, just to save you a little trouble of trying to hunt them down yourself. That will be in the description. All right, again, thank you. Good grief, will this video ever end? I just wanted to come back one last time about the discharge chute cover here. You can actually take that off too, instead of holding it up with a bungee cord or dropping it down and just letting it sit there. It does come off. You can take it off. I'm not going to take mine off because I see no reason for it. I've always had it on 100% of the time on my old lawn tractor, and it's never really created a problem. If you can't get close to the edge here when you're mowing, you know, just mow the other direction and use the other side where the blades are going to be, you know, flush there with the deck, and you can get as close as you want. But yeah, I'm not going to take mine off, but it does come off. And I think there's a few videos out there that will show you how to do that. I'm not going to demonstrate it today. And usually when I take things off, I end up storing them somewhere, forgetting where they're at, or losing parts to it. So it's just better off that I leave this on. All right, again, thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe. I promise this is the end. I just wanted to mention that I'll probably make one more short video of actually using this to mulch my yard, and we'll see how those blades worked out for me and how good a job it does. Thanks again.